Scream 7 stars Nev Campbell. This one's actually directed by Kevin Williamson, who actually wrote the first, second, and the fourth Scream movie. So it pretty much picks up with Sydney. She has her own life, she has a family, daughter, husband, and Ghostface killings ensue, and it eventually makes its way back to Sydney, as it always does. So Scream is by far my favorite horror franchise. The first movie, it's my favorite horror movie all time. I first, second, third, and fourth one I love. Second or the last two I really enjoy for the most part, but not really on par with the first ones for me. This one I was a little nervous because obviously the behind the scenes, what happened with Melissa Barrera, them letting her go, and then Jenna Ortega following after that. Um, and the trailers just didn't do it for me. It looked very like what was the point? And unfortunately to say, it does feel like that after watching the movie. It feels just like a very safe, a very generic Scream movie. Like it's not really nothing. It's not saying anything new. Nev Campbell, she was great. She's front and center. She's the lead of this movie. I think the best part of the movie is the dynamic between her. Now she has a daughter now, and she sees her daughter going through the same things that she did as a teenager, like sneaking boys through the window. But it just doesn't find like a new way to introduce that. Like as Scream movies, they're so good with like the meta commentary, but this one felt like more it's meta for the Scream movies. Like it felt like watching a stab movie at some points. So you have Sydney's daughter, played by Isabella May, who I thought was really good in the movie, but her character felt like just kind of one note to me. It just felt like mom, why won't you talk about your past? That was pretty much just her the entire movie. As for the other side characters, like just the new group of teenagers in the movie, I thought they were just absolutely just wasted. Like none of them stood out. They were literally just fodder for the Ghostface killer. Like I said earlier, Scream has always been about the meta commentary on horror movies, and this one feels like it's more meta within the own Scream movies. Like everything was just nostalgia, like referencing an old Scream movie, something that happened in the previous one. And obviously, there's the Stab movies within the franchise, which is copying off the Scream movies. So we know that it happened, but we as the audience know like that's also a Scream movie. So it just felt like very forced, just very just kind of shoehorn nostalgia in there. You have other characters in here. Joel McHale actually plays Sydney's wife. I thought he was wasted at all. He's like a very good like comedic actor, Community, and he didn't really. He was just a generic, just anybody. I feel like anybody could have played him. I think he was wasted a lot. Just everybody, even it's not a spoiler because they're in the poster, but Chad and Mindy from the last two movies, they end up coming back in this one, and just the way they're kind of back, how they show them back in there, it just felt very forced to me. Same thing with Gail, but she's a much bigger part in the franchise, so that didn't bother me as much. Some other positive, there is some really good kills in the movie. Um, Very gory, some of the best, honestly, some of the best of the whole franchise. But I just didn't care about the characters, so it's like it was just fodder. They were just fodder for the whole movie. There's something that happened, not a spoiler, but they kind of tease it at the beginning of the movie. It's like, is Stu Macher really dead? Like you hear it on a podcast that they're listening to on the radio or in their car, and that's like kind of the theme of the whole movie. And just the way they handled that, I felt was very cheap, and by the end was very disappointing. Like the whole movie, you're meant to think like, is this like a deep fake or an AI type of thing? And just the way they handled that at the end, it was very, very cheap. I feel like, and I said this in my out of the theater reaction that a Scream movie is defined. Good Scream movies are defined by their opening scene and their ending scene, the ghost face reveal. And this one, I think, by far had the worst of both. The opening was fine; it was whatever. The ending, though, with the ghost face reveal, it was by far just the worst and most forgettable of the entire franchise. I don't know what they were thinking of how they were handling that. Um, and just the killer motivation behind it. it made no sense. I was just like, what are we doing? I don't know if obviously they were kind of backed into a corner with like what happened with Jen Ortega, Melissa Barrera leaving, and I think they did the just the safest version of what they could. So overall, I was disappointed with Scream Seven. I do think it is the worst of the entire franchise. It's not a terrible movie. It's just very unforgettable, safe, even generic for a Scream movie. I am going to go into spoilers here because I have to talk about that ending, about the Ghostface reveal. So spoiler warning. Okay, so early in the movie, spoilers. Nev Campbell gets Sydney. She gets a call, a FaceTime, and it's appears to be Stu Macher, or we don't know. We don't know if it's someone using a deep fake or AI. We don't know. And midway through the movie, the Ghostface killer is in Sydney's house, and they end up killing him. Gail comes in, runs him over with the car, and when they unmask him, it's a patient that was actually a character that was in the earlier in the movie in Sydney's copy shop that turns out to be a patient at some psychiatric hospital, mental hospital, and so they go there, and it turns out that Stu Macher also went to that same place that one of the guards was saying. And so it's like, did they work together? Is Stu Macher actually back? And cut to the end of the movie, you find out there's multiple Ghostface killers, which we kind of assumed because pretty much all the movies have two Ghostface killers. And we're thinking, is it Stu really back? And when they reveal who it actually is, it's the neighbor played by Ann Camp from the Pitch Perfect movies, and the worker from the mental hospital. And it was just like, so they were just kind of teasing us the whole movie. It just made no sense. Their killer motivation, what they were explaining it, made absolutely no sense. It's like just the most forgettable, generic, by far the worst Ghostface reveal that I've seen. I really think they were trying to do something there with like AI and deep fakes and that conversation. Just the way they handled that felt very, very cheap, very poor. How it ultimately led in the end, very disappointing, very disappointing. But like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's not a terrible movie. It's just, I think, the worst Scream movie. Final score, I would give it a 5.5 out of 10.